Let's jump straight into it. Welcome to this explainer where we are breaking down a truly wild weekend at the 2026 British Open over at Royal Birkdale. We're looking at a championship that gave us the ultimate split-screen experience. On one hand, an absolutely unprecedented scoring barrage, and on the other, a massive, headline-dominating rules controversy. It is literally the ultimate collision of golfing perfection and technical heartbreak.
So, we got to start with this magic number, 62. When you're talking about men's major championship golf, this number represents the absolute summit. For decades, the lowest round ever recorded in a major was a 63. Breaking that barrier, it seemed almost impossible, especially when you factor in those brutal course setups and the immense pressure of the majors. To put just how rare this is into perspective, check this out. Before this fateful weekend at Birkdale, only 5 guys in the long, storied history of the sport had ever signed for a 62 in a major. Brandon Grace sit at first, actually right here at Royal Birkdale back in 2017. Then you had Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele at the 23 U.S. Open, Shane Lowry and Kurt Kitayama just recently at the 2026 PGA. So yeah, 5 players. That's the entire list.
Section 1. Making History at Birkdale.
Then the 2026 Open completely rewrote the record books, and it did it in a span of just 2 days. The conditions aligned perfectly, guys just caught absolute fire, and suddenly that exclusive 62 club had an open-door policy. I mean, look at how agonizingly close Australian Lucas Herbert came to absolute immortality here. He goes on this insane tear, ties an open record with a 28 on the front 9, and gets to the 18th needing just a birdie for the first ever 61 in a men's major. But he misses a mere 5-foot putt on the final green. He had to settle for a historic 62, which, as he joked later, is a good problem to have to be disappointed with.
And Herbert definitely wasn't alone in his brilliance. American Sam Burns put together this incredibly emotional round. He actually almost withdrew from the tournament entirely because his wife was expecting. But after his daughter arrived early, he stayed in, fired his own 62, and punctuated the whole thing with a spectacular, roaring greenside bunker chip-in on the 18th hole. Just electric.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the momentum of the weekend. The scoring barrage didn't even stop on Friday. On Saturday, New Zealand's Ryan Fox joined the 62 club as well. Remarkably, just like Herbert, Fox gets to 18 with a legitimate chance at a 61. He tied the lead at 8 under, but just couldn't quite find that final birdie on 18. So, he signs for another brilliant 62.
So let's just step back and look at this contrast. In over a century of major championship golf, we're talking thousands upon thousands of rounds, we had exactly 5 62s. Ever. And this week, at Birkdale alone, we literally witnessed 3 of them in just 2 days. It's an absolute statistical anomaly, a total showcase of peak athletic performance.
But, while these records were being absolutely shattered, a totally different kind of history was unfolding off the scorecard. It shifts our focus from this breathtaking pursuit of perfection to the hyper-technical, sometimes really brutal reality of the rulebook. So why exactly did a top contender suddenly drop down the leaderboard right in the middle of all this historic scoring? Section 2. The DeChambeau Drama.
Okay, so the chaos started on the par 4 5th hole. Bryson DeChambeau hits a wayward drive deep into the native area. Spotters found the ball buried in the tall grass, and video caught him sort of stamping around the area to figure out his options before he finally hacked out to make a bogey. But the drama really blew up after the round. Officials reviewed the footage and handed down a 2-stroke penalty. DeChambeau heavily disputed the ruling with R&A executives and then headed to the driving range. It was a completely surreal scene. He's out there hitting balls in the fading light until 10:28 p.m., surrounded by his team, and just visibly frustrated.
Section 3. Understanding Rule 8.1a.
To really grasp what happened here impartially, we have to look directly at the mechanics of the rules, right? This isn't about opinions, it's about the strict application of the governing texts. So Rule 8.1a explicitly prohibits a player from improving the conditions affecting their stroke, and that includes their intended swing area. Basically, you can't alter or trample the surrounding natural environment more than is absolutely necessary to take your stance. The rule firmly mandates taking the least intrusive course of action.
And the R&A stood incredibly firm on this. Chief Referee Grant Moy stated, "I would reiterate, this rule applies even when there's no intention to improve the area, as was the case with Bryson." The R&A openly acknowledged that DeChambeau's actions were entirely accidental, but under Rule 8.1a, intent simply doesn't matter. The physical alteration of the grass was enough to trigger the penalty.
Naturally, DeChambeau's camp pushed back hard. Speaking to the media in the dark, his agent Brett Falkhoff made their stance crystal clear. He's a lot of things, but he's not a cheater. Falkhoff really emphasized DeChambeau's integrity, pointing out that this was an inadvertent mistake, not some malicious attempt to gain an advantage, and they felt the penalty was just incredibly unfortunate.
But regardless of intent, the material impact of this technicality on the tournament was huge. Before the penalty, DeChambeau had signed for an excellent 66. That score had him sitting in solo second place, literally one single shot back of the lead. But with that two-stroke adjustment, his official score became a 68. In an instant, one of the sport's biggest stars dropped into a tie for fifth, suddenly 3 shots back, and as we all know, in a major, 2 strokes is a lifetime.
Section 4. An epic weekend ahead.
Initially, there were rumblings he might actually withdraw in protest. Instead, shortly after midnight, DeChambeau confirmed his playing status with a really defiant post, saying, "Obviously disappointed with the ruling. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. This fires me up. On to the weekend. Let's get it." He is clearly choosing to channel all that immense frustration directly into his game.
So heading into the weekend, the narrative setup here is absolutely incredible. Up at the top at 8 under par, we have our history-making record breakers Lucas Herbert and Ryan Fox. Just behind them, guys like Jackson Suber, Cameron Young, and Ryan Gerard are sitting at 6 under. And lurking just 3 shots back at 5 under par, Sam Burns and a highly motivated, incredibly fired up Bryson DeChambeau.
It all leaves us with a fascinating question to ponder as we watch these final rounds unfold at Royal Birkdale. Will the breathtaking pursuit of a 61, this pure, historic scoring barrage, define this championship? Or will the hyper-technical realities of the rulebook and a controversial 2-stroke penalty ultimately decide the winner?